The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched as far as the eye could see. Tall aliens with blue skin and extra arms sat in floating chairs. Bug-like creatures with many eyes clicked their claws on metal tables. Giant worms that breathed gas. Instead of air, moved through special tubes above everyone's heads. Wanho sat in the smallest chair at the very back of the room. His human clothes looked cheap next to the shining armor and flowing robes of the other species. Nobody looked at him. Nobody cared what he thought. That was exactly how he wanted it. The Valith ambassador stood up. Thexmore was 8 feet tall, with silver skin that seemed to glow. His people ruled 400 star systems and had never lost a war. When he spoke, everyone listened. "The mining rights for Sector 7 are almost ready," Thexmore said. His voice was deep and scary. "We will need to move the human colonies to make room for our equipment." Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Others just nodded. "Like this was normal business. Where will the humans go?" asked a small alien with too many teeth. "Does it matter?" Thexmore waved his hand like he was brushing away a fly. "They are not important. We will find them some empty rocks to live on." Wanho kept his face blank. Inside, he was counting. This was the 37th time in 5 years that someone had talked about moving human colonies. Each time he remembered. Each time he sent a message home to Earth. The meeting went on for hours. They talked about trade routes and mining rights and who got to rule which star systems. They talked about humans like they were talking about furniture. Move them here. Put them there. They take up too much space. When the meeting ended, Wanho walked slowly to his small ship. It was old and ugly compared to the other ships in the station's dock, but it worked. And it had secrets that the aliens would never think to look for. He typed a short message into his computer. "Meeting 4I-487. Standard dismissal. Relocation threat level 7. Recommend patience continues." The message would take 3 weeks to reach Earth through the normal shipping routes. But Wanho had other ways to send messages, ways that were much faster. Far away, in a place that no alien had ever seen, Admiral Daehyun read the message on his screen. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been reading messages like this for 40 years. Around him, the command center was busy with activity. Hundreds of people worked at computers and control panels. The walls were covered with star maps and construction schedules. Everything was hidden deep inside an asteroid that looked dead and empty from the outside. Another relocation threat, Daehyun said to the woman standing next to him. Minji was shorter than the Admiral and had oil stains on her work clothes. She was the best engineer that humanity had ever produced, though no alien would ever know her name. "How many does that make?" she asked. "Too many." Daehyun pulled up a list on his screen. "They have threatened to move our people 83 times in the past 10 years. Each time we smile and say, 'Yes, sir.' Each time we move to worse planets with less resources. And each time we learn something new about their technology and their weaknesses," Minji said. Daehyun nodded. "How is the construction going?" Minji smiled for the first time that day. "Come and see." They walked through long hallways cut into the asteroid rock. The walls were covered with metal panels and blinking lights. People hurried past them carrying tools and computer tablets. Everyone had work to do. The hallway ended at a massive window that looked out into space. But this was not normal space. This was the inside of something huge. The asteroid they stood in was hollow, Inside, machines bigger than cities were building something that had never existed before. Minji pointed to the construction site. "Planet ship number 7 is almost finished," she said. "We started with a dead world about the size of Earth's moon. We hollowed it out and filled it with everything we need." Daehyun looked at the massive structure floating in front of them. It still looked like a planet from the outside, but now it had engines bigger than mountains and weapons that could crack continents in half. "How many people can it hold?" he asked. 3 million if we need to, plus all the factories and farms and everything else to keep them alive forever." Minji's voice was full of pride. "It is not just a warship. It is a moving world. And the aliens still think we are just simple farmers and miners on worthless planets." "They see what they want to see," Minji said. "They think humans are weak because we do not fight back when they push us around. They do not know that we are building the biggest fleet in the galaxy right under their noses." Daehyun watched as smaller ships moved around the planet ship like tiny insects. Each one was carrying parts and supplies. The work never stopped. "How long until all 7 are ready?" he asked. 6 months? Maybe less. We have been working on this for 60 years, Admiral. 3 generations of humans have lived and died to make this possible. Every mining operation we ran was really gathering materials for the ships. Every colony they made us move gave us a new place to hide construction sites. And they never suspected anything? Minji laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Why would they? They think humans are too stupid to build anything dangerous. They think we are grateful for the scraps they throw us. Daehyun turned away from the window. "Send a message to all project sites. I want status reports from every construction team. And send word to Wonho. Tell him to keep playing the part of the grateful human servant." "Yes, sir. Are we really going to do this?" The old admiral was quiet for a long moment. He thought about all the times human families had been forced to leave their homes. All the times alien soldiers had come to human worlds and taken whatever they wanted. All the times humans had been treated like animals or furniture. The Valeth. "Ambassador wants to move our people again," he said finally. "I think it is time to show him what happens when you push humans too far." Minji smiled again. This time, it was not a nice smile. "The planet ships are hungry for their first real test," she said. Back on the Galactic Council station, Wonho was having dinner in the human section. The food was cheap and the rooms were small, but he did not mind. He had a job to do. His computer made a soft sound. A new message had arrived through the secret channels. Wonho read it quickly, then deleted it from his system. "Patience almost over. Prepare for activation." Wonho finished his dinner and looked out the window at the alien ships flying past the station. Soon, very soon, everything would change. Aliens had no idea what was coming for them. 300 years of human patience was about to end. And when it did, the galaxy would never be the same. Emperor Velthar sat on his crystal throne in the heart of the Valeth Empire. The throne room was bigger than most human cities, with walls made of living metal that shifted and changed color. Guards with silver skin and energy weapons stood, perfectly still around the room. The emperor was old, even for his people. He had ruled for 800 years and conquered more worlds than any other Valeth in history. His empire spread across 400 star systems. His bioships could turn planets into glass. His warriors had never known defeat. "Bring me the reports," he commanded. A younger Valeth stepped forward, his silver skin glowing with nervous energy. "My lord, the human relocation is proceeding as planned. They offer no resistance." "Of course they do not," Velthar said with contempt. "Humans are cowards. They bend their necks and say thank you when we step on them. The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was 12 feet tall, and his presence filled the room with power. How many human colonies have we moved this year? 17, my lord. We gave them barren worlds in the outer systems. Worlds with no value. Good. Soon we will have all the mining rights we need. The humans can scratch in the dirt on their worthless rocks. Velthar walked to a huge window that showed the space around his capital world. Thousands of bioships moved through the darkness like living things. Have there been any problems? None, my lord. The humans do exactly as they are told. The Emperor smiled, showing teeth like crystal daggers. Perfect. They know their place in the natural order. We are the strong. They are the weak. This is how it has always been. At that moment, alarms began to sound throughout the palace. Red lights flashed on every wall. The bioships outside began moving faster, taking defensive positions. What is happening? Velthar demanded. A guard ran into the throne room, his silver skin flickering with panic. My lord! Unknown objects have appeared at the edge of our core systems. They are massive. The Emperor frowned. Pirates? Another empire trying to challenge us? We do not know, my lord. They appeared out of hyperspace without warning. Our sensors show them as planets. Planets? That is impossible. Planets do not travel through hyperspace. But even as he spoke, more alarms were sounding. Reports came flooding in from across the Empire. Massive objects had appeared in 7 different star systems at the same time. They were the size of moons, but they were moving with purpose. On the bridge of the planet ship Terra's Wrath, Captain Sumin watched the Valeth fleet scramble to respond to her arrival. The bridge was carved into the heart of the converted planet with walls of rock and metal stretching up into darkness. Screens showed views from all around the massive ship. Status report, Sumin commanded. All systems ready, Captain. Her second-in-command replied. Weapons charged, engines stable, population secure. Sumin was a small woman, but her voice carried absolute authority. She had been born on this planet ship 40 years ago. Her parents had worked on its construction. Her children lived in the cities deep inside its core. Communications. Patch me through to the Valeth fleet. Channel open, Captain. Sumin's voice went out across space to every Valeth ship in the system. This is Captain Sumin of the Human Defense Force. You have 10 minutes to surrender all military vessels and stand down your weapons. The response came quickly from the Valeth admiral commanding the local fleet. His voice was full of anger and disbelief. Human! You dare to give orders to the Valeth Empire! You will be destroyed for this insult. You have been warned, Sumin said calmly. Weapons officer, target their flagship. The planet ship's main weapon charged with a sound like thunder. It was a cannon built into the planet's core, using the mass of the entire world to generate power. When it fired, space itself seemed to bend. The Valeth flagship was 3 miles long and covered in armor that could stop any normal weapon. The biometal hull was alive, able to heal itself from damage. It had never been seriously hurt in 800 years of war. The planet ship's cannon hit it dead center. The flagship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space and scattered atoms. Every other ship in the Valeth fleet froze in shock. They had never seen anything like this. Their most powerful vessel had been erased in a single shot. Now, Sumin said over the communications channel, Would you like to reconsider my offer? Across the Empire, 6 other planet ships were having similar conversations with Valith fleets. The aliens' response was always the same at first: rage, threats, disbelief. Then the humans would demonstrate their weapons, and the aliens would understand that everything had changed. Captain Hayek commanded the planet ship Eternal Vigilance. His target was the Valith Military Academy world, where their greatest warriors trained. The planet was defended by 200 bioships and orbital. "Weapons platforms, sir. They are refusing to surrender," his tactical officer reported. "Then we will show them what human patience looks like when it finally runs out," Hayek said. The Eternal Vigilance moved closer to the Academy world. Its surface weapons began firing, not at the planet, but at every Valith ship and station in orbit. The bioships tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the planet ship's armor. One by one, the defenders were destroyed. The Valith warriors, who had conquered dozens of species, fled in panic as their ships exploded around them. But Hayek was not finished. The planet ship extended massive mechanical arms that were hidden beneath its surface. These arms grabbed the military academy world itself. Slowly, carefully, the planet ship began to crack the world open like an egg. "Broadcast this to every Valith military base," Hayek ordered. "Show them what happens to those who threaten human families." Back on the capital world, Emperor Velthar watched his empire die in real time. Reports came in from every system. The humans were not just winning, they were making it look easy. 3 centuries of Valith military might was being swept away in hours. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Where did these ships come from?" But no one had answers. The humans had appeared without warning with weapons beyond anything the Valith had ever imagined. Their planet ships moved through space like living worlds, destroying everything in their path. "My lord," one of his advisors said carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiating." "Negotiating?" Veltar's voice rose to a roar. "With humans? They are insects. We do not negotiate with insects." "But my lord, they have already destroyed 60% of our fleet. Our colonies are falling. Our people are fleeing." The Emperor struck his advisor, sending the silver-skinned alien flying across the throne room. "I will not bow to humans. Send every ship we have. Throw everything at them." But it was too late. Captain Suman's planet ship was already approaching the capital world. The Terra's wrath was so large that it blocked out the sun when it passed in front of it. "Emperor." "Velthar," Sumin's voice echoed through the palace's communication system. "This is your final warning. Surrender now or watch your homeworld burn." The Emperor looked out his window at the massive shape hanging in space above his planet. For the first time in 800 years, he felt fear. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Everything," Suman replied. "Your empire ends today. Your people will live, but only if they submit completely to human authority. You have ruled the galaxy through strength. Now you will learn what real strength looks like." Emperor Velthar closed his eyes. Around him, his guards laid down their weapons. The last great empire of the old galaxy was dead. In 72 hours, the Valith Empire had fallen. 400 star systems that had been ruled with an iron fist for 1,000 years now belonged to humanity. And across the galaxy, other alien governments watched in terror and wondered if they would be next. The age of human patience was over. The age of human dominance had begun. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. The mighty Valith Empire was gone. destroyed in 3 days by humans using ships the size of planets. In trading posts and diplomatic stations, aliens gathered around communication screens, in disbelief. The Kryn Confederacy held an emergency meeting on their capital world. The conference room was filled with the leaders of 50 different species, all talking at once in panic. The Kryn themselves were tall, thin aliens with golden skin and too many arms. They had built their power on trade and money, not war. "This cannot be real," said Trade Minister Zelvin, his 4 arms waving frantically. "Humans do not have this kind of technology. They live on farming worlds." "The footage is real," replied another minister, pointing at the screen. "Look at these recordings. Planets that move and fight like ships. Weapons that can destroy anything in one shot." Captain Yunji watched the Kryn panic from her command center aboard the planet ship New Horizon. Her ship was positioned just outside their main trade route, blocking ships from entering or leaving Kryn space. "Sir, we are receiving dozens of communication requests," her communications officer reported. "The Kryn want to negotiate." "What are they offering?" Yunji asked. "Everything, Captain. Trade rights, tribute payments, entire star systems. They want to make a deal." Yunji shook her head. "They still do not understand. This is not about trade or territory. This is about 300 years of being treated like dirt." She opened a channel to the Kryn capital. "Kryn Confederacy, this is Captain Yunji of the Human Defense Force. You have 1 hour to surrender all military assets and submit to human authority. There will be no negotiations." The response came from Trade Minister Zelvin himself. His voice was desperate. "Captain, please be reasonable. We can offer you anything you want. Rare metals, exotic technologies, exclusive trading rights." "You offered us nothing when we were weak," Yunji replied coldly. "Now that we are strong, you offer us everything. But it is too late for offers." She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. "Target their primary trading station. 1 warning shot." The New Horizon's main cannon fired across the bow of the massive trading station that controlled all commerce in Kryn space. The energy beam missed the station by only a few hundred meters, but its passage superheated the metal hull and sent shock waves through the structure. Inside the station, millions of aliens felt their world shake. Emergency alarms screamed across every level. And everyone understood the message. The humans could have destroyed them all, but chose not to. This time. Within the hour, every Kryn military ship had powered down its weapons and surrendered. But the Kryn Confederacy was just the beginning. As news of their quick defeat spread, smaller alien governments began to panic. Some tried to hide. Others tried to run. A few tried to fight. The HFY were a species of crystal beings who lived on worlds made of living rock. They communicated through beautiful harmonic sounds that could travel through space itself. They had always considered themselves above the violent conflicts of other species. Captain Ji-yoon received her orders while orbiting the main HFY world. The planet below her sang with thousands of crystal voices, all harmonizing in fear and confusion. "The HFY leadership requests an audience," her communications officer reported. "They say they want to discuss peaceful coexistence." "Tell them to surrender unconditionally," Ji-yoon replied. "We are done with discussions." The crystal being's response was a song of defiance that echoed across their entire star system. They would not bow to any species, especially not to humans whom they had always ignored. Ji-yoon sighed. She had hoped they would be smarter. "Focus the mining beam on their primary crystal formation," she ordered. The planet ship Iron Dreams had tools for more than just war. It carried massive industrial equipment for mining operations and construction projects. The mining beam was designed to cut through asteroids and extract valuable minerals. When focused on the HFY homeworld, it did something different. The beam struck the planet's largest crystal formation, the heart of their civilization. The crystal had grown for millions of years, and its harmonic resonance was what allowed the HFY to communicate across their entire world. The mining beam cracked it in half. The sound that came from the planet was horrible beyond description. It was the death song of an entire species' way of life. The crystal formations across the world began to resonate with the damaged core, creating a feedback loop that shattered smaller crystals everywhere. Within hours, the HFY could no longer communicate with each other. Their society collapsed overnight. "Do you surrender?" Ji-yoon asked over the communication channels. The response was a weak, broken harmony that barely qualified as speech. "We surrender." The insectoid Clithra tried a different approach. They were a hive-mind species that lived in massive space stations hidden in deep space. Instead of fighting or surrendering, they simply disappeared. Every Clithra colony went dark at the same time. Their ships stopped broadcasting. Their trade routes went silent. They thought they could hide in the vast emptiness between the stars until the humans gave up and went away. They were wrong. Captain Minho commanded the planet ship Silent Hunter, which specialized in tracking and surveillance. His ship carried sensors that could detect the heat signature of a single person from light years away. "Sir, we have located the first Clithra hive," his sensor officer reported. "Hidden in the Kepler Nebula, just like intelligence predicted." "How many hives total?" 17 confirmed, possibly more. "They are spread across 3 sectors." Minho nodded. "Then we hunt them all. The Clithra want to play hide-and-seek. Let us show them how humans play that game." The Silent Hunter moved through space like a ghost, following heat trails and electromagnetic signatures that the insectoid aliens thought were too faint to detect. One by one, Minho found their hidden hives. The first hive tried to run when the planet ship appeared, but there was nowhere to go. The Silent Hunter was faster and could track them anywhere they fled. The second hive tried to fight. Their weapons were designed for short-range colony defense, not for battling something the size of a moon. The third hive tried to negotiate, but Minho had his orders. By the end of the week, 16 Clithra hives had been destroyed or captured. The 17th surrendered without a fight. On the planet ship Endless Night, Communications Officer Subin monitored transmissions from across the galaxy. Her job was to track the collapse of alien civilizations and predict which species would fall next. "Status report," Admiral Daehyun requested over the communication link from his command center. 17 major civilizations have fallen in 3 weeks, sir, Subin reported. "The Valeth Empire is completely under our control. The Kryn Confederacy has surrendered all trade routes. The HFY homeworld is pacified. The Clithra hives are destroyed. Resistance? Minimal. Most species are fleeing to the outer rim galaxies. Some are trying to form alliances, but they collapse as soon as we arrive in their systems." Daehyun was quiet for a moment. "How many species have we encountered so far?" 43 that offered surrender, 12 that tried to flee, 6 that attempted to fight. None of the fighters lasted more than 6 hours. "And the humans? Our colonies that were moved and relocated?" Subin smiled. "All human colonies are being relocated again, sir. This time to the best worlds in former alien empires." The families that were forced to live on barren rocks are now living in crystal palaces and bio-cities. Good. What about the alien populations on those worlds? They are being relocated to appropriate housing. Nothing cruel, but they understand that the galaxy has new management. Across space, on a small diplomatic station that had once been neutral, ground for all species, Tae-hyun sat in what used to be the Kryn Trade Minister's office. He was no longer pretending to be a simple human diplomat. His real rank insignia showed he was a colonel in human intelligence. The remaining alien leaders sat around the conference table like broken toys. Some were crying. Others stared at the walls in shock. A few still tried to maintain their dignity, but their voices shook when they spoke. "Colonel Tae-hyun," said Ambassador Kreldan of the Celix Republic, "surely we can reach some kind of agreement. Your people cannot rule the entire galaxy." Tae-hyun looked at the alien with cold eyes. "Why not? You ruled it when you were strong. Now it is our turn. But there must be room for coexistence, for cooperation. There was no cooperation when you forced human families off their homeworlds. There was no coexistence when you treated us like animals. There was only strength and weakness. You taught us that lesson very well." He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the human fleet patrolling the space around the station. "You had 3 centuries to show us mercy, to treat us as equals, to share the galaxy in peace." He turned back to face the aliens. "Instead, you showed us that only power matters. So we built power, more power than you ever imagined." "What happens now?" asked another alien, its voice barely a whisper. "Now you learn to live in a galaxy where humans make the rules," Tae-hyun said. "Be grateful that we are more merciful than you were." The age of alien dominance was over. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and there was no force left that could challenge them. The surviving alien leaders gathered on the neutral station in what used to be Kryn space. They came from dozens of different species, all that remained of the great galactic civilizations. Some had ruled hundreds of worlds. Others had commanded vast fleets. Now they sat in a small conference room, waiting for answers. The doors opened, and Admiral Young-ho entered the room. He was not a large man, but his presence filled the space. Behind him came a dozen other humans in military uniforms. The aliens. Recognized some of them from intelligence reports, the captains who had destroyed their fleets and conquered their worlds. Young-ho sat down at the head of the table and looked around the room. His eyes were calm, but the aliens could see something cold and terrible in them. "You wanted to know how this was possible," he said quietly. "You want to understand how humans built an empire-killing fleet without anyone noticing. So I will tell you." He gestured to a woman in engineer's clothing. "This is Ji-won, chief architect of the Goliath Protocol. She will explain what you are facing." Ji-won stood up and activated a holographic display in the center of the table. The image showed a cross-section of one of the planet ships, revealing its internal structure. "Every species in this room has made the same mistake," Ji-won began. "You thought humans were simple farmers and miners. You thought we were too stupid to be dangerous. You were wrong." The hologram zoomed in to show the planet's core. "We did not build ships. We converted entire worlds into weapons. This planet ship contains 3 million humans, complete ecosystems, manufacturing facilities, and enough supplies to operate independently for centuries." One of the alien leaders, a tall creature with purple skin, raised a clawed hand. "But the energy requirements alone. How do you power something like this?" "Each planet ship has 17 fusion reactors built into its core," Ji-won replied. plus solar collectors across the entire surface and backup antimatter reserves. A single planet ship generates more power than your entire Confederacy used. Impossible, whispered another alien. The construction time alone would take thousands of years. Jiwan smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. We started building 60 years ago. 7 planet ships, constructed simultaneously in hidden locations, across the galaxy. Every mining operation you allowed us to run was gathering materials for this project. Every worthless world you gave us became a construction site. She changed the holographic display to show a timeline. For 3 centuries, you moved us around like pieces on a game board. Each time we said thank you and asked for nothing in return. But we were learning. We studied your technology every time our ships docked at your stations. We analyzed your military tactics every time you threatened us. We planned. Admiral Young-ho stood up. You want to know the real secret? It was not the technology. It was the anger. He walked around the table, his footsteps echoing in the silent room. Every human family that was forced to leave their home, every time you treated us like animals, every casual insult and dismissal, we remembered all of it. But surely, said a crystalline being whose voice chimed like bells, this was not all. About revenge, there must have been strategic considerations. Strategy? Young-ho laughed, and the sound made several aliens flinch. Yes, there was strategy, the strategy of a species that learned patience from predators. He activated another display showing human colonies across the galaxy. You thought you were scattering us to keep us weak. Instead, you were positioning us perfectly. We had outposts in every major system. We had workers in every important facility. We had eyes and ears everywhere. A small alien with too many legs spoke up nervously. The intelligence reports, they said humans were grateful for the opportunity to serve. We were grateful, said Colonel Tae-hyun from his position near the door. Grateful for every lesson. In cruelty, you taught us. Grateful for every demonstration of what happens to the weak in this galaxy. He stepped forward into the light. I spent 30 years infiltrating your governments, living among you, learning your secrets, reporting your weaknesses back to Earth. Do you know how many times alien officials told me that humans were too simple to be a threat, too honest to be dangerous? The alien leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many of them remembered the quiet human diplomat who had attended their meetings for decades. My people have a saying, Tae-hyun continued. Revenge is a dish best served cold. We served it very cold indeed. Jiwan activated a new hologram showing the construction sites where the planet ships had been built. You gave us asteroids and dead worlds because you thought they were worthless. But we saw them as perfect raw materials. We hollowed them out and filled them with everything we needed to wage war on a galactic scale. The engineering alone, muttered a floating gas creature through its translator device, was beyond anything your species ever attempted, Jiwan finished. Because your species never had the motivation we did. You conquered the galaxy when it was easy. We had to take it from you when you thought you were invincible. Admiral Young-ho returned to his seat. Do you know what the hardest part was? Not the construction, not the secrecy. It was the waiting. He looked directly at the former Valith general sitting across from him. General Kexmore, you were present when your emperor decided to relocate the Tau Ceti colonies 3 years ago. Do you remember what you said about human patience? The silver-skinned alien's voice was barely a whisper. I said humans were patient like livestock, that they would wait quietly for slaughter. Yes, And you were right about the patience, but wrong about everything else. Young-ho stood up again and walked to the window. Outside, human planet ships moved through space like mobile worlds, their surfaces bristling with weapons and sensors. Every human child grew up knowing this day would come, he said. Every generation built toward this moment. Mothers taught their daughters to remember every insult. Fathers taught their sons to plan for the day when patience would end. A historian named Seojun stepped forward from the group of humans. He was an older man with kind eyes, but his voice carried the weight of centuries. You want to understand how this happened? Seojun asked. Then understand this. Humans do not forgive, we do not forget, and we do not give up. He activated a final holographic display. This one showed a map of the galaxy before the human conquest, with alien empires marked in different colors. For 300 years, you ruled through strength. You taught us that only power matters, that the weak exist to serve the strong, that mercy is weakness and cruelty is wisdom. The map changed, showing the galaxy as it was now. Almost everything was marked in human blue. We learned those lessons very well. Too well, perhaps, because when we finally became the strong ones, we remembered exactly how the strong are supposed to treat the weak. The silence in the room was complete. The alien leaders stared at the map, finally understanding the full scope of what had happened to them. What happens to us now? Asked the crystalline being, its voice barely audible. Admiral Young-ho turned away from the window. Now, you live in a galaxy where humans make the rules. Your people will be treated fairly, but they will never, again, be the rulers. Your children will grow up knowing that their place is to serve, not to command. Is there no appeal? No negotiation? Did you negotiate with us when you were strong? Young-ho asked. Did you appeal to our mercy when you moved our families to barren worlds? The alien had no answer. 3 centuries of human patience has ended, Young-ho said. 3 centuries of human dominance has begun. And this time, we will not make the mistake of being merciful to those who showed us none. The meeting was over. The aliens filed out of the room in silence, their heads down, their spirits broken. The galaxy they had known was gone forever. As the humans prepared to leave, Admiral Young-ho looked once more at the map showing their new empire. It was everything they had worked toward for 3 generations. But even as he looked at their triumph, his eyes turned toward the edge of the galaxy, where long-range sensors had detected signals from other galaxies beyond their own. The work was not finished. It was only beginning. 6 months had passed since the first planet ship appeared in Valeth space. The galaxy was quiet now, but it was the quiet of a graveyard. Where once dozens of alien empires had ruled, now only human voices gave orders. Governor Narai stood on the observation deck of her command center aboard the planet ship Final Judgment. Below her stretched the former capital of the Valeth Empire, now renamed New Terra. The crystal spires still rose into the sky, but human flags flew from their peaks. Human soldiers walked the streets where silver-skinned warriors once marched. Status. Report, she commanded. Her aide, a young human named Jinwoo, consulted his tablet. Reconstruction is proceeding on schedule across all former Empire territories. Human colonies have been established on 1,200 worlds. Former alien populations have been relocated to appropriate housing. Any resistance? Minimal. A few isolated groups tried to organize rebellions, but they were quickly dealt with. Most alien populations have accepted the new order. Narai nodded. It was exactly what she had expected. The aliens had ruled through fear for so long that they had forgotten how to fight when someone stronger came along. What about the outer systems? Any sign of fleeing governments trying to re-establish themselves? Captain, Hanul's task force is handling the cleanup operations. They have tracked down most of the remaining alien leadership groups that tried to escape to the Rim worlds. Far away on the edge of the galaxy, Captain Hanul guided her planet ship New Dawn through a sparse star system where the last free aliens were trying to hide. Her sensors had detected the energy signature of a small fleet 3 days ago. Now she was closing in for the final capture. "Sir, we have visual contact," her sensor officer reported. 12 ships of mixed alien design, hiding behind the 4th planet's moon. Hanul looked at the display showing the pitiful remains of what had once been a proud alien fleet. These were the last ships of the Kelrax Republic, a minor power that had thought they could escape human justice by fleeing to the galaxy's edge. "Open communications," she ordered. The face that appeared on her screen was that of Admiral Yexkala, the former leader of the Kelrax military. He looked tired and defeated, his blue skin dull with exhaustion. "Human ship," he said, his voice heavy with resignation. "We offer no threat to your people. We ask only to be allowed to leave this galaxy in peace." "I am afraid that is not possible," Hanul replied calmly. "You are charged with crimes against humanity dating back 47 years. You will surrender your ships and submit to human authority." "What crimes? We never attacked human colonies." "No, but you voted to approve 17 separate human relocations. You profited from trade deals that displaced human families. You considered us animals to be moved around for your convenience." Hanul's voice grew colder. "In the new galaxy, there are consequences for treating humans as less than equals." The alien admiral's shoulders sagged. "And if we refuse, then you will join the Valith, the Kryn, and all the others who thought they could escape justice." One by one, the alien ships powered down their weapons and prepared to surrender. Another chapter in the old galaxy's history was coming to an end. Back on New Terra, Captain Keuman was leading a tour of the Reconstruction Corps through what had once been the Valith Emperor's palace. The massive structure was being converted into a human administrative center, but they were preserving some of the more impressive architecture. "The biometal walls will be kept as a historical monument," Keuman explained to his team of engineers and architects. "But we will need to install human-compatible life support systems throughout the building." "What about the crystal gardens?" asked one of the engineers. "Convert them to food production facilities. We can feed 3,000 people with the space. Those decorative crystals are taking up." Keuman was a practical man. He had no interest in preserving alien art when humans needed homes and food. The old empire's luxury would be transformed into useful infrastructure for the new human colonies. "Sir," his aide interrupted, "we have received a request from the HFY survivors. They want to maintain one small crystal garden as a cultural preservation site." Keuman considered this for a moment. "How many HFY are left?" "About 12,000 across all their former worlds. And how much space do they want for this garden?" "A single room, no larger than a human apartment." "Grant the request, but make it clear that this is a privilege, not a right. If they cause any problems, the garden disappears." It was the kind of small mercy that had become common in the new human administration. The aliens were allowed to keep fragments of their old cultures, but only at human sufferance. They lived by human rules in a human galaxy now. On the planet ship Manifest Destiny, young Do-Yun walked through the education center where human children learned about their new empire. At 15 years old, he had been born after the conquest, began. To him, human dominance over the galaxy was simply the natural order of things. His teacher, an older woman named Che-Young, was explaining the history of the war to her class. Before the liberation, she said, using the official term for the conquest, humans were forced to live on the worst worlds in the galaxy. We were treated like property, moved around whenever it was convenient for the aliens. A student raised her hand. But why did we let them do that to us? Because we were patient, Che-Young explained. We knew that someday we would be strong enough to take back what belonged to us. But we had to wait for the right moment. Do-Yun looked out the classroom window at the stars passing by. The planet ship was traveling to a new system where human colonies were being established on former alien worlds. Somewhere out there, his parents were working to build the new human empire. Teacher, he asked, what was it like before the liberation, when the aliens were in charge? Che-Young was quiet for a long moment. She had lived through the old times when humans bowed their heads and said thank you for the scraps aliens threw them. It was a time when humans had to be careful, she said finally, when we had to smile and pretend to be grateful for poor treatment, when we had to hide our true strength and wait for our chance. Will the aliens ever try to fight back? Some might try, but they will learn the same lesson we taught their empires. In this galaxy, humans are the strong ones now, and the strong make the rules. After class, Do-Hyun walked with his grandmother through the residential sections of the planet ship. Che-Young was old enough to remember the early days of the construction project when everything had to be kept secret from alien censors. Grandmother, he said, was it really so bad before, the way the aliens treated us? Che-Young stopped walking and looked at her grandson. He was tall for his age, healthy and confident in the way that only children, who had never known oppression, could be. Would you like to know what your great-grandfather died for? She asked. Do-Yun nodded. The Kelrax Republic decided that humans were taking up too much space on the farming world where he lived. They moved all the human families to a planet with poisonous air. Your great-grandfather volunteered to work in the mines because the job came with breathing equipment. He died extracting metals that the aliens used to build warships. She started walking again, her steps slow and deliberate. The aliens told us he was honored to serve. They said humans should be grateful for the opportunity to contribute to galactic civilization. They gave your great-grandmother a small medal and told her to be proud. What happened to that medal? I melted it down and used the metal to make part of the targeting system for one of the planet ships. They walked in silence for a while, passing gardens and shops and all the normal life of a human community that happened to be built inside a weapon the size of a world. Will we ever forgive them? Do-Yun asked. Forgiveness is for equals, Che-Young replied. The aliens never saw us as equals. They saw us as property. So we do not need to forgive them. We only need to make sure they never forget what happens when they treat humans as less than human. That night, in his private quarters aboard the Manifest Destiny, Admiral Young-Ho reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies were thriving on the best worlds. Former alien populations were adapting to their new status as subjects rather than rulers. The great planet ships continued their patrols, making sure that peace was maintained. But Young-Ho's attention was focused on a different set of reports. Deep space sensors had been detecting regular signals from beyond the galaxy's edge. The patterns suggested organized civilizations in the neighboring galaxies. He activated his communication system and sent a priority message to Earth's High Command. Signal detected from Andromeda Galaxy shows signs of advanced civilization. Recommend beginning preliminary research into intergalactic travel capabilities. The galaxy is secure, but our work is not finished. Young-Ho leaned back in his chair and looked out at the stars. Humanity had conquered one galaxy through patience and planning, but the universe was vast, and there were other civilizations out there who had never learned the lessons that this galaxy's aliens had paid for in blood. He thought about Young, Do-hyun, and the other children growing up aboard the planet ships. They would inherit an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems, but they would also inherit the responsibility to expand that empire further.